This is Deadpool. Maybe not the one comic book fans know, but this was the one introduced to the film going public in 2009. Sometimes a movie goes so hard against its source material, it's almost admirable. Other times we're left with scenes like this. A sequence so far removed from its base, it feels like a deliberate middle finger to the ideas that came before it.
Okay. People are dead.
But before we get too far into this video, please take a moment to subscribe in order to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. X-Men Origins Wolverine was the first of a planned series of movies based on popular characters from the then-thriving X-Men franchise. Making his film debut in Bryan Singer's X-Men in 2000, Hugh Jackman was celebrated as the fan-favorite character Logan. He immediately became the film's breakout star.
You actually go outside in these things? What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
As the franchise trekked on, the studio knew exactly who to focus on when they broached their first solo film experiment. The main through line up to this point involved Logan seeking revenge for his murdered girlfriend while meeting fan-favorite characters in a sort of cameo scavenger hunt, until we reached this moment.
Wait, is that you?
After briefly being introduced to a katana-wielding Wade Wilson in Team X, we see the results of his participation in the Weapon X program. And his physical appearance alone is enough to take a brief moment to wonder what exactly the filmmakers wanted to accomplish here. Affectionately referred to as the Merc with a mouth in the comics, Deadpool was known for his quips, foul mouth, and fourth-wall-breaking humor.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
Debuting in New Mutants number 98, Deadpool, or Wade Wilson, was a beloved anti-hero who had gained a lot of traction through various successful comic book series. Ryan Reynolds had fallen in love with the character when he saw an issue where Wilson described himself as Ryan Reynolds crossed with a Shar-Pei. For most fans, it was an exciting idea. Reynolds was known for his self-deprecating humor and sharp wit.
You know, I just always felt a kind of a kinship to him. I've always been a fan of effervescent witticisms, I suppose. Also known as sarcasm.
When Origins decided to work Deadpool into its script, Reynolds told them this was not the version of the character fans would want to see, but the studio insisted this was what they were doing with the character.
Yes, we deliberately took Deadpool and gave him certain things and attributes of the past that has never been seen in the comics. Good. We hope we surprised you a little.
In fear of being recast, Reynolds accepted the role knowing how far removed it was from the Deadpool people loved.
Great. Stuck in an elevator with 5 guys on a high-protein diet.
Oh, wait.
Dreams really do come true.
Just shut it.
Deadpool here is the culmination of powers derived from several mutants. John Wraith's teleportation, Cyclops' laser beam, Logan's healing, but none of those powers come with any sort of consequence or price. As Logan and Deadpool flip, stab, vanish, grunt, and kick, everything feels so alien. Deadpool is more Baraka from Mortal Kombat than his well-known comic book personality. His signature red and black costume is replaced with what looks like red pajama pants and water socks. And to add insult to injury, with literally no mouth to speak of, there are no jokes or fourth wall breaks. At least until a post-credits sting where he shushes the audience, which is far too little, way too late.
Oh my God, you ever shut up, pal?
No, not when I'm awake.
The scene is so incredibly bad, it's almost impressive. It's an empty display of balletic carnage that has no emotional undergirding or greater point. And the goofy let's fight on smokestacks set pieces just screams, we need to come up with something visually cool but don't actually have any ideas. And that's to say nothing of the fact that at the theoretical emotional apex of the scene is the inscrutable line Sabretooth grunts while saving Wolverine.
Nobody kills you but me.
But don't despair, this is one of the very few times in comic book movie history where a happy ending actually materializes. The fan outcry after the release of X-Men Origins Wolverine was deafening. But the one thing everyone agreed on was that Ryan Reynolds was pitch perfect as Deadpool.
Sure, it's a little bulky, tough to get on a plane. You whip out a couple of swords at your ex-girlfriend's wedding, they will never, ever forget it.
If only he'd been given a proper shot. So, Fox actually listened. They hired Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the writers of Zombieland, to tackle a new feature script that would reposition Deadpool back to his roots. The script they wrote was equal parts comedy and superhero love letter. Meanwhile, Fox had attached the first-time director and founder of the visual effects company Blur Studio, Tim Miller, to helm the project. However, the studio was losing confidence that the public would show up in support of a niche character in an R-rated project after the release of Green Lantern, which was an abysmal failure.
fake laugh, hiding real pain.
As a last-ditch effort, they agreed to let Miller create an animated test footage reel, with Reynolds portraying Deadpool in order to come to a final decision. Tragically, the footage was completed, and then the project stalled.
Hola! Me llamo Vecina de la Muerta.
Until, in July of 2014, the footage mysteriously showed up online weeks before San Diego Comic-Con, setting the whole nerd world on fire. Everyone rejoiced and opined that this is what the Deadpool movie should have been. And shock of all shocks, the heads of Fox listened. Again, they greenlit the movie. Deadpool learned all the lessons from the mistakes of Origins. It was unabashedly comic booky, the perfect example of this being Deadpool's mask.
I know, right?
Remember, this is what he looked like in Origins. No thank you. Deadpool was courageous enough to come up with the idea of animating his mask. This simple detail goes to show you just how fastidious the creators are about bringing the character to life. This version of Deadpool uses the quintessential comics element of the character as a strength, not a flaw. It never apologizes for the fact that the character is wearing a costume, has a code name, or has a complicated backstory. It celebrates that fact and even minds it for humor.
Just realized I'm never gonna win the
Deadpool. Captain Deadpool. No, just
Deadpool, yeah.
Deadpool as a movie is funny, but never at the expense of the characters or the world. Deadpool's meteoric success as a solo film was astonishing to most of the people at Fox, so much so that they rushed a sequel into production. Despite Tim Miller departing the film over creative differences with Reynolds, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick returned to pen the sequel, one which featured the big screen debuts of Cable, Domino, Shatterstar, and multiple other fan-favorite X-Force alumni.
Was that Benjamin Button?
Brad Pitt? How did
You're here, aren't you?
Yeah, but I didn't agree to.
And just like the creative solutions they came up with for the first film, Wernick and Reese, along with John Wick co-director David Leitch, crafted a pitch-perfect sequel. All you need to do is compare this guy and his previous cinematic outing to see that they stayed right on the creative bullseye. Ultimately, it all comes down to one simple emotion: love. You can feel in every frame of both Deadpool movies that the people behind it love what they're doing and love the character. They're trying their best to accurately translate him to the big screen. That emotion is nowhere in Origins. With every eyeball laser blast and weird arm sword slash, their version of the character diminishes the film he's in.
Hey, it's me. Don't scratch. Just cleaning up the timelines.
The people that are tasked with producing these comic book blockbusters are stewards. They're protectors of these modern-day myths. And when they don't take it seriously, you can feel it from a mile away. While you're here, feel free to check out our other videos related to Marvel's favorite mutants, and let us know down in the comments below what mutant you'd like to see get their own solo movie.